Hey everyone, my name is Matt, Cryptic if you prefer, and welcome back. We are in part 2 now of our wrench tutorial. We're going to be looking at adding our details today and really making this thing kind of fleshed out in a way. And then in our next tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to UV it. So today the primary focus is on getting this thing to look like our reference image. If you're new to this tutorial series, make sure you visit the first video, which is linked somewhere up here. And if you're following along, make sure you like and subscribe because it does help my channel and you won't miss the next upload when it comes. So if you were here for the last video, you know that we blocked out our wrench. We have everything set up. We've got our 3 separate pieces so far. We are going to be using these original models to kind of flesh everything out and really kind of get this thing finished off and cleaned up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the wrench. I want to look at the body of the wrench and just decide where we need to adjust some things and where we need to kind of start fixing some stuff. So the first thing right off the bat that I'm noticing here is we've got this slice that we need to replicate, as well as we want to make sure our geometry is kind of flowing the same way. So we're going to go to our side view. And we're going to start looking at this. So I know if I grab this line, it's going to cause me more issues than I'm kind of willing to deal with. So what I want to do, I'm going to go to vertex. We're going to start straightening things out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a new line. We're going to add a new edge loop right through here. We may have to add 2 of them just because there's a split there. So we're going to go insert edge loop. We're going to add one right here where that meets. Same thing down here. This is going to create that flat edge, that sort of machined tip to the wrench, and that's how we're going to kind of model that. So let's go ahead and go into vertex mode. We're going to adjust that, just line it up as best we can. We're just going to continue looking at this. So the issue I'm seeing here is we've got this slice, and if we look at our model, that slice doesn't exist. So I'm going to go and do Shift-I to isolate. So this is where we're going to start looking at actually having to model and kind of cut some of this in. So looking at our wrench reference, if I pull it up here. So looking at our reference, we're going to see there's a slit that goes right in between here. So what we're going to have to do is hollow this out a little bit and kind of create that channel that this piece, this tooth piece, flows into. So the first issue I'm noticing is my wrench is not near wide enough in the front. So I want to kind of widen it up a bit. Some of these, when you look at them, you'll notice they kind of curve out and then slant in. So we're going to kind of follow that same sort of shaping principle. We're going to select all the way up to about here. That should be about midway. Yeah. So we're actually going to go right here. This is where I want this. We're going to scale it out a bit. And then we're going to work on scaling through this thing. But right now we're just focused on getting a little bit more geometry to work with. Okay. So now that we've got that, the next thing we want to do is we want to start cutting out that sort of path that this thing follows. So one way we can do this is we can just add an offset edge loop. So we're going to mesh tools. We're going to go to offset, and offset's going to create an even edge loop on both sides. So that looks pretty good. We're going to do the same thing right here. This is going to be important while we're working on this. So we can see that we actually have an issue in here. What's the problem? Oh, we don't have a connection there, so we missed a point. So we'll go ahead and connect that, and we'll just go to multi-cut and fix that issue. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that because that's going to create an uneven. So we'll just go to mesh tools, or edit mesh, delete edge vertex. We'll go back to mesh tools and offset the edge loop. So we'll just get that nice, even. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to select both of these, look in our front view, turn on wireframe. Just going to match that up to those that we cut in the front right there. Should be matched now. Yeah, should be good there. Okay. We need to look at our concept art here now. Let's see here. So we're going to look here. We got our reference material, and so we know basically that this cut goes all the way through and then stops right about there in the midpoint. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this inner loop here, and then this outer loop here. And you'll notice with the way we built this all links through. So we're going to delete those faces, and we have our channel now. So So from here, we're going to bridge everything across. Just rebuild that geometry. Oops. Sometimes things just don't want to work. That's fine. Okay. So in bridging this and creating this, what we're doing is we're building our new geometry without like destructively trying to extrude it. Because if you try to extrude that in, you're kind of just going to mess up your geo. And I find that this works a lot better for actually creating your topology properly and focusing on edge flow. Okay, so this one's a little bit different because I didn't think. So what we need to do is make sure that this is going all the way through. So I'm going to delete that too. So we're going to go bridge and bridge. Bridge. Okay, so that handles that. So the big issue now is how do we bridge all this together? So what we're going to do is we're going to bridge these real quick. And unfortunately, that kind of creates a triangle. So we have an issue here. So what we can do to solve that issue is we can create an edge loop. So we'll go mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're just going to create one right here. That'll immediately give us the ability to make a quad. We will bridge. And we will bridge. Okay, so that should be okay. Should be good. We have a nice channel through here. And we can do a smooth preview to make sure that things are functioning the way they're supposed to, and we're looking pretty good. So pretty happy with that. Go out of smooth preview because it looks terrible. Okay, so the next thing is we need to start working on how this is actually going to kind of bend inwards and how it's going to be like a slanted machined piece of metal. So what I want to do is we're going to delete half of our object. We're going to take this half, which is somehow still connected. Oh, okay, back here. We're going to delete this half. And then from here, we're going to start working on shaping. With this, what we want to do is we want this to actually kind of not curve in, but it needs to be flat. So the first thing is this needs to be fixed because that's looking terrible. So what we'll do is we're going to drag our edge loops, or our vertices. Let's see. I don't know why I said it that way. Our vertices. And we're just going to start shaping this the way we need to. Don't worry so much about the changes we're making to the interior. We will fix that eventually here. I just selected one I wanted. Yeah, I did. And we're just trying to create that slant. I'm noticing here we have a weird, that's kind of strange. Okay. So we'll take these exterior ones. I'm going to do the same thing. Just pull everything in till it makes that nice slanted view. And then the last one is going to be this one. And then just for sanity's sake, we're going to kind of line everything back up. We'll just go ahead and scale that and just kind of clean it up a bit, because we don't want to jack it up too badly. And we're going to end up having to kind of match this to what's left over here. Okay, we're good there. And then we'll just kind of work on concentrating on pulling these back in. Trying to give this a better flow here. Okay. If we look at that, it should look okay. These guys, not so much. I'm going to turn on my transform constraint to surface slide and just kind of pull things in here a little bit and just kind of clean this up. One thing I try to stress while you're working on hard surface models is if you can pre-plan your topology as much as possible, do it. It's going to help you a lot in the long run. You'll be much happier with yourself. Okay, so we're starting to get that nice cut. So we could test this by going to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, and we will add a supporting edge loop here, here, and here. 3. That should give us a nice slice. And it kind of is. We're starting to get that shape there, so. we're not worried about it just yet. Okay. Cool. So this is a good chance too to kind of look at the inside of this thing and just decide, I'm not liking the flow of this on the inside, so I'm going to delete these. And we're going to think about how we can do this in a better light. Thinking what I want to do. Turn off that transform constraint and just kind of look at the way this is structured. Because ideally, I think we just deleted too much. No. We've got exactly what we need. So technically, this is functionally correct. So we're going to leave this one. We're going to bridge this. So that's how that should work. The issue here is that this connects to nothing. So we have a little bit of an issue that I want to correct. So if I'm going to delete that, what I want, ideally, is for this to connect straight across. But in order to get that, I need to create some geometry. So we're going to extrude this. And this is when cutting something in half like that can actually be really super helpful, because you'll notice that in the beginning we did something wrong. So we didn't really kind of think about how we wanted that to flow. Now we have this nice smooth channel. Everything's still quadded out nicely. And when we mirror that across, it's going to mirror across just right. So that's corrected, which is great. We love that. Now we're going to keep working on just flattening this out. So a lot of times what I'd like to do is I will grab all of these vertices that we have here. I'm going to make sure I grab all of the front facing ones, right? So we're going to look at this and just decide, all right, so I need this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, grab it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll turn on my scale. So you'll notice if we scale it this way, it's going to kind of flatten everything out, but we can actually kind of make this a little bit nicer for ourselves. And we can kind of hold D to change our rotation of our scale. And we can scale it the way we want to. So we want a nice sharp cut. And so you'll notice we're getting a weird pull, and it's because we're not scaling in the right direction here. Let's see. I'm gonna do this in perspective. It's a little bit easier to see. So I want it to not do that. So what I want to do is I want to kind of rotate my scale a little bit here in this direction too, to point down. And you can see how just a little bit gave us a much better result. Okay, so looking up at the top here, we're looking pretty good. I want to just pull that out a slight bit. And then just drag that out a tad bit too. Okay, so we should have a nice kind of slice to it now. It's looking pretty good. The only thing is I just want to kind of make sure this all flows together nicely. So we're going to take this and slightly pull it out. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's cool. We got that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to mesh and mirror. And that's not working, so we want to change it to the direction that we're modeling in, which is going to be our Z direction. And that's obviously too thick, so let's change it to object. That way we get the result we're hoping for. And overall, that's pretty solid. The only issue I'm having is the front is now not thick enough. It's too much like a beak. It's too sharp. So what I want to do then is I'm going to go back and really I'm actually going to go with the faces. So with the faces selected, what we want to do is just kind of pull them out a bit and rotate slightly so we're getting a thicker result. We can fix the rest of this, not a big deal. We're kind of focused on this front piece right now, so not bad. I do want to get these kind of corrected. We're going to look up here in our top view. The whole thing is just making sure you're kind of following your flow, your actual like shaping, and making sure that your smooth preview looks decent. Okay, cool. So we're going to do that mirror again. Change it to our Z direction and change it to object. That's much better. So we have a much nicer actual grip point there. We still have our actual shaft that the piece of this is going to move through. So now what we get to do is we get to just kind of refine this a little bit, which is the fun part. So from here, looking at the top of this, it's square. We don't want that, obviously. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, actually, thinking about this, what we want to do, we're going to go Mesh Tools, we're going to insert an edge loop. Just make sure those are lining up properly. Okay, cool. And we're going to take these interiors, just the edges. I'm going to go to mesh and circularize. Or sorry, edit mesh and circularize. It's going to give us that nice circular hole, which is what is on the top of the wrench. And you'll see that. I think I gave you guys reference. Yeah, so you'll see that right here. So we got this nice circular hole up here. It's a little imperfect, so that's something that we'll go through. Keep in mind too, this is a very cheap tool. It's not machined super well, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's something we'll look at when we're modeling this, when we're kind of finalizing this. I tend to like to model everything in a mirror format, and then when I need to go through and do some like weathering or adjustments to how things are shaped, I'll do that in the last bit. Okay, so we're good there. Looking down here, we've got the same thing that we want to do. We're gonna go select these edges. I'm gonna go mesh and circularize. So that's gonna create a little bit of weirdness right here. Actually, no, I did okay. So that's cool. All right. So we've got our little circular thing. The rest of this is a straight cut, so we don't have to worry too much about that. There's a little bit right here, and I think what we'll do, we're gonna do the same thing. We'll go mesh tools, insert edge loop. And then just make sure those are lined up properly. They are not. Okay. And I think what we'll do here is we'll select these outer edges, go to mesh tools, edit mesh, and circularize. So the cool thing about the circularize tool is it will work without the additional geometry. We just need to make a little bit of a change here because it's pulling in a way that I don't like. Because this needs to be a straight channel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this edge out here and we're just gonna scale it out a bit to realign it. That way we get that nice circular shaft that it flows into, but you still have the sharp support that we need here for the actual base of it. So the other thing we gotta do is we need to pull these inwards. So these guys kind of create a little slant on the inside here in the geometry. So, and you know what? I think it is better to just do it this way. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go just delete half of our model again. You obviously don't have to do this, but I find it favorable to do it just because it lets me. Cool. That's weird. It lets me actually control one side, and then I can just mirror it and not worry about it again. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our side view again. We're going to hold D to rotate our transformation gizmo, and then we're going to just scale it flat and get it right about here. So that should give us that nice kind of slit look, and then we can adjust from here how we want to. So actually, looking at that, I kind of don't like the way that worked. So let's think about this here. What I can do is I can pull it in a little bit, and then I can exaggerate it by taking this guy, looking at the way this is cut. So we want to look at the way this is kind of shaped and cut. And so right now we're not really mirroring that. Because right now what I'm seeing here is we need some sort of interior support here. So we're going to do an insert edge loop tool. We're going to put it right about here. And then we're going to keep working this. So we're going to take this back edge and we'll just start shaping. I like to tend to pick the easier parts to shape first that we're going to just kind of pull. I'm going to do a surface slide because it shouldn't damage anything. We'll just pull this back a little bit. It's going to give us that nice cut look. And then the same thing with these top ones. They're going to get kind of pulled out. I'm going to pull that out. And then this guy is actually going to be our piece that gets pulled in. We're going to turn off surface slide. I'm going to pull that in. We'll adjust this geo here in a second. And we're going to take this and kind of pull it back because we don't want to damage that as much as we were. Okay, so that should give us a much better look. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing is that I think the way that this is kind of flowing up here is not really making sense to me, because it should be kind of cutting in. So the reality is we might have to actually pull that out a little bit, but that's okay, no big deal. Okay, so we're looking at this. That needs to be adjusted a little bit. So this vertex, we're gonna go back to our surface slide and just kind of try to clean this up a little bit, just so it's not so messy. Okay. Same thing up here. We just don't want this much going on. So if we smooth that, we'll do a much nicer indent. Should be getting some of that nice shaping going. So we'll call it good there. I'm gonna go ahead and save because it's good time to. Okay. So with that said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go mesh. I don't know why it doesn't want to save my settings today, but that's okay. Doesn't have to. Okay. So we're looking pretty good. We're getting a lot of good stuff going on here. I think what I want to do, because we're actually getting pretty close to being able to just call it good, is we're going to do this. So mesh tools. As much as okay. We're going to go back because we are going to start adding some supporting edge loops on the outside, but there's going to be a lot of adjusting that we have to do. So we're going to go to insert edge loop tool. We're going to hit boom. So we want it to be super close to the edge up here, because if we smooth this, it's going to give us a nice sharp preview. We want this kind of sharpness up here. In fact, it's actually not sharp enough. So what I want to do is get as close to that as possible. Let's see. We're going to try to get this as, okay. Let's pick 3. Okay, so that should give us a nice sharp, there we go. So that's what we wanted. So we've got this nice sharp edge, but the problem is that edge is carrying all the way through our model. So what we need to do is kind of pull our edge loops out a little bit from the back here. So we'll take these and we're going to kind of destroy some of the closeness back here, because that's what we don't want. So I'm actually just going to select that whole edge loop that we have there. And then right from about here is where I'm going to start pulling that in. So we'll pull here, get that out. And same thing here. We've got this edge loop that goes all the way through. We're going to just allow that to stay. And I think I'm going to, yeah, I'll leave it right there. So we'll pull that down. Now when we hit 3, you'll see we get this smoothness back here. It's a little bit less than I want. I want a little bit more smoothness. So we'll keep kind of messing with this. But really, I think we're doing okay. And then this is going to be problematic because we've got this circle back here. So we'll just try to fix a little bit of this manually. And then that adjustment's just kind of weird there. Something kind of funky happened there, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Turn off sometimes your constraints will screw you up, so don't be afraid to turn them off. Just maintain that topology there, and then we're gonna fix this because that just looks bad. Okay, pull that out, pull it in, and we're gonna go into our side view and just kind of correct some of this because that's just, it's not working. So pull that in, pull that out, pull that in, match it back up to the original shape. Should be okay there. Smooth that, looks much better. We're getting that nice rounded handle again while it stays sharp up here. So that's good. That's what we want to see. Okay. So now, looking at this, what we can do is we can go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to do a support loop here, which is going to go just outside of that circle, which is okay. And then we want to do one in here, which this one should travel entirely through here, but it's not wanting to, so we need to figure out why that's the case. Sometimes it's just because the geometry breaks. So we're going to just multi-cut it. And we'll call it good. see how that's looking. Okay, so we're okay there. And we're going to go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to add one here. So you can see that we're getting a couple of weird little issues up here. Things are just not wanting to link up properly, so we want to just make sure we're multi-cutting to make sure that it's actually functioning the way it's supposed to. And that looks okay. Okay. So we're okay there. We're going to add another edge loop here. This is going to be what gives us that nice slice. I want that as close as possible, and then we're going to add a secondary support. Oops. Okay, so you can see how we're getting that nice cut. We're still getting a little bit of shaping issues here. I think that's just because we haven't really supported this out yet. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add a support there, and support here. And then we might need to add one here and here. And Q escape 3. Okay, so we're starting to get that shape in there that we want. We've got that nice cut, which is exactly what we're looking for, so that's awesome. We've got a slight pinch up here we'll have to alleviate, but so far we're looking all right, so we're getting there. We're going to do the same thing right here, actually. We'll support that because that's falling. Okay, there we go. That's much better. Okay, so we'll come back and clean that up. Don't worry about that. The issue is, again, we're getting too much sharpness back here. This is more of a weird rounded like thing. So what I want to do is take these edge loops. I'm going to pull them back and scale them up a little bit. This is okay to have this look kind of imperfect because it, again, is kind of it's like a forge press tool. They're never going to look great unless it's like a better manufacturer. But we want to make sure that we're maintaining the look, which is going to be this kind of decrepit, not so well built thing. Okay, so we escape, create that. I think we're good there. Is it a triangle? No, it's a quad. It's just a really ugly one. That's okay. We can look at that later. So we're starting to kind of maintain that. So the other thing I want to adjust is this interior one. It's just, again, too sharp. So we want to correct this. So this is the same way I usually would work through one of these. You know, if I'm seeing that I'm getting too much sharpness in one area and not enough in another area, I will certainly just go through and just start kind of pulling these away, because the whole concept of your supporting edge loops is that they're going to maintain the shape, and that's not what we're trying to do here. What did I do? Pull that too far, which tells me that these are not matching up. So that's okay. Just continue pulling this out. Smooth preview, looking a lot better. It's not nearly as sharp. It's sharp where we need it, right? We want this sharp cut right here, which is good. That's exactly what we're going for. So, okay. So the other thing we got going on here is this is kind of coming to a really sharp point, but it doesn't have any support. So we're going to go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to add a kind of a dense point here. We do want a little bit of a sharp, let's see. I don't want that much of a sharp point. So what I want to do is look at my reference. I'm going to kind of just take these vertices and just kind of spread them out a little bit, because we want to kind of create this like rounded piece. And just like that, that looks a lot better. It's still a little sharp for my comfort, but we'll look at the final piece and decide if that's going to work or not. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. This guy back here, let's look at our reference. I'm going to pull it up real quick here. So looking at the way this is, it's just supported on the interior. So we'll just go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. And we notice we do have an issue here, so something's not mixing up here. We're going to go ahead and fix that now. Yeah, and I see where my issue is. Okay. All right, cool. So there's an extra vertex in here somewhere. And that's where it was. Right there too. Okay, cool. We have those fixed. That's looking pretty good. So now we got to look at our indentation that we have here. So, and looking at the body of this thing, we've got this indentation, right? That kind of flows through here. So we need to create the geometry that we're going to use to hold this down, basically. And we already have a lot of it here. So what we're going to do is kind of pull this in. Just give ourselves a little bit of working room, just to make sure that we're actually following this thing's flow. Okay, cool. So from here, it'll let me. Why are you not? There we go. All right, we're going to select our faces. You can see how we've got that shape now, which is perfect. We're going to extrude. We're going to scale it in, pull it in, and just kind of scale it a little bit more. Okay. So if we smooth that now, we've got that nice indentation. It's working really well with the back piece. It just needs a little bit of support. So we're going to add a single edge loop in here just to give it a little bit of crispness. And I honestly don't know if that did much for it. It didn't because of this. So hold on a second. Let's do this. Let's correct some of the geometry here. Vertice. We're going to just try to make this look as clean as possible. Okay. So mesh tools, edge loop. We've got a little bit of a pull we need to do here. And then I want to support here. So we're going to take this vertex group, pull that in a little bit, pull that in a little bit. Looking okay there. Hit 3 to smooth. That's much better. It's got the support it needs. And we've got a pretty good look to it. So I'm pretty happy with that indentation. It's got everything we need. The text we're going to handle in Substance Painter, so I wouldn't worry about that. And then you'll notice back here, because we added that edge loop at the bottom, we kind of jacked up our topology over here. So we're going to kind of pull that out a bit and just clean it up. So we don't want this to look as crisp as it was getting. Don't be afraid if you add edge loops to kind of tug them in places that you're not getting results that you want, because the reality is that, you know, these objects aren't perfect. So the last thing you want is some perfect looking wrench that's like flawless to the eye, because that's not our goal here, right? Our goal here is to create things that are believable on the computer. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of tug this edge loop out. Same thing we did with the top one. And then we're going to leave it right about there. So if I smooth that now, I should have a much better shape back here. I do. It looks much better. It's not pinching in the corner anymore. And we've got a nice curved shape to it. So we're looking pretty awesome. I'm fairly happy with that. So now we got to look at this pinching that we have going on up here. So pinching can sometimes be a difficult thing to fix. But looking at this, I can tell where our pinch is. It's right up here. So we can kind of adjust this. We can take this. We can go back to our modeling toolkit. We're going to change to surface slide, and we're going to just slightly pull this out. And the same thing up here. Just pull, pull, and pull. And even with the vertices, we'll just kind of adjust them a little bit, because this does not need to be as sharp as it is. And this is going to alleviate a little bit of that pinch. It may not take care of it entirely, but we're going to just kind of work it. Because really the cut is where we want the detail. So we can pull this as much as we need to. We can even pull it in a little bit to eliminate that pinch. See that we're still kind of dealing with it, so we're gonna keep working this. The other issue is we're getting a weird dent up here, so I want to get that fixed now. I don't know if that's something that we caused. It might have been. But let's just keep dragging. Do surface slide. Surface slide, thank you. Okay. And same thing, I just want to kind of pull that a little bit. Just just a tad bit. Just trying to eliminate that pinch, and that did a pretty good job of doing so. So, got a little bit of a better idea there. And then we have the same thing here, right? So this is pinching. This is causing kind of a weird shape here, especially with the circle. So we want to pull this in a way that's going to still maintain. And I'm actually seeing an issue that we have here. Okay, so we have a problem. We need to do some multi-cuts. All right, so go to Mesh Tools, multi-cuts. This is also why I suggest cutting your model in half, because it allows you to find some of these problems that aren't necessarily linking up right away. And you can nip them now. Okay. Cool. Escape. It should be much more put together. It is. We don't have an edge loop down here yet, so let's do that real quick. And we're dealing with the same problem right here. So we're going to go Mesh Tools, Multi-Cut. You can do this in your modeling toolkit too. I'm so used to using drop downs, it's not even funny. Okay. Much better, much nicer. Okay. So we're getting a better look there. Got a nice good shape out here. This is kind of flowing a little too poorly. We need to fix that a bit. Same thing up here. So we've got this supporting edge loop. It's just pinching. I'm just going to use surface. Ooh. What's going on? Let's do edge slide. Edge slide's a little bit better. Okay. So same thing over here. Just pull a little bit. Just trying to maintain some of this geo and get rid of this pinching. So that's pretty good there. We're getting a weird down the middle pinch going on here. And I think again that's just because of the way this thing's scaled from. So let's see. Vertex. I'm gonna select these, lift them up a bit. We're actually gonna look in our side view. Just kind of try to match these up. Yeah, we got a little bit off. Got a little bit screwy up here. It's okay, we just need to kind of correct it a bit. Okay, so I want to see what I'm pulling before I do it. Okay, so this needs to clearly go across like that, so that's fine. Just trying to rehab that shape a little bit. I'm getting some pinching up here so we can adjust this. This one's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment just because we're going to have to pull this back pretty far to get this to stop. We'll pull it up. I think what we'll do is we'll do the same thing with the vert. So that gives us a better... Yeah, so you can see that's a much cleaner scoop now that we're dealing with. Okay. So we're going to save. Been a minute. Turn on my ambient occlusion and stuff just to make it look a little bit nicer. Okay. So looking at it, I'm still dealing with a little bit of a pinch up here, and I don't necessarily appreciate that. So do surface slide. I'm just trying to figure out where I can pull this to not lose the support that I added. That looks like that was actually just enough. Okay, cool, so that's good. So I want to look at the top of this, right? I want to see if I can get away with this little pinch up here. And looking at the design of this thing, I think I actually can. Yep, it looks like I can get away with that. So I'm going to leave that. But this one down here needs to be corrected. So go down here. So we're looking at this. And interestingly enough, unfortunately, we're not creating that in the right spot. So there's an issue. So because of this, what we did, right, is we pulled this section out, and this is now our kind of our flat section. And it actually needs to come out a little bit further. So what we can do just kind of pull things a little bit. So we've kind of damaged our topology up here a little bit, so let's fix that. Turn off your surface slide because you'll do more damage than good. just adjusting, trying to do a little bit more. And thankfully, this is the most difficult part, right? So once this is out of the way, we can just get everything else done. So we're gonna go into our wireframe and look at what we're grabbing. Because ideally, I want that pulling that way. Which is a little bit straighter. Same thing here. And sometimes working with excess geometry like this is going to be a little bit more helpful because you're moving larger chunks that have a little bit more support to them. The issue being is that we're not getting the shape that I want necessarily. So let's see. We'll keep toying with this. Because I might be doing more damage than good. And I think I am, but the only reason I am is because there's no support to that. So what we can do, we have this edge loop that's supporting this and giving us that sharp cut. We're going to delete it. And we're going to smooth and just make sure the cut's gone. Cut is gone, so we're good there. Same thing here. This vertex group needs to come out. I don't need that much. Just need that much. Okay, so that gives us that. Should be pretty good, and I can actually make this cut now. So mesh tools, we'll go insert edge loop. We're gonna do a really close cut. And then same thing down here. Let's see what that gives us. It should give us our, yeah, that gives us a better result. The only thing is I didn't delete the one down here. Did I create one down here? I don't think I did. So we're actually gonna delete that one too. So mesh tools. Mesh deleted vertex Q escape 3. Okay, that should give us a better, yeah, that's a much better look. That's actually what we wanted. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of troubleshooting. We're going to add another supporting edge loop here to just refer, or just to keep that cut going. We want that to be like a slice, and it's looking pretty good. The only thing is down here we're looking a little bubbly, so we need to kind of correct that a bit. But otherwise, we've got that nice cut in there. The biggest thing I'm noticing now is that we're looking a little lumpy. So really what I want to do is select all of these exterior faces, and we're just going to do a scale. I don't necessarily recommend doing this all the time because this can be quite destructive, but it's going to get me the result that I'm looking for. So we're just going to toy with it for a minute here. We want to make sure we're selecting everything that we're selecting on the bottom and on the top, because we don't want to make this adjustment without and miss something important. Because the idea here is we're going to scale and flatten this out entirely. It is going to create a little bit of a change in geometry here. All right, so looking at that, it's really bumpy. It's not smooth at all. I'm going to rotate and then just try to rotate and then just try to scale it. So I'm causing a little bit too much damage there, so we're going to come over here and we're going to rotate this down. It's a little bit less damaging. Still pretty bad though, so we're going to just kind of play with this and rotate it. The reality is we need to keep that portion straight. So if that means that we have to just pull it out a little bit and then readjust some things, then that's what we have to do. So we're gonna have to just kind of clean this up a little bit. So we'll come down here, grab these, just pull them in. Only thing we did was just kind of pull them out a little bit by accident, so not a huge deal. Not the end of the world. Okay. So go ahead and go through, make your adjustments that you need to make after doing that. You should have a pretty good clean. And remember, these need to be really kind of close because this is where it's pinning off. It's like it's super flat. So we'll just do the same thing here. Just pull these in. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. We didn't destroy anything. We have a nice cut. And And the only thing we need to do now is just add a little bit of extra support in places. So we're going to go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to add support right here. And then right up front to keep that square. And then smooth. Got a nice look there. We are getting a pinch here, though. So that's an issue. So because we added that edge loop there, we lost a little bit. So we're going to add this one still. We're going to support. I'm not going to do that, actually. Let's see. Add this here. Add this here. I'm hoping that should be enough. No, it's not. So the issue we have here is no matter what we do, we're creating a weird squared off pinch. And it might be because of the way things are flowing. Let's see. I want to do that. Oh, that works. That does what I need. Okay, cool. And that didn't affect our geometry down the line. All right, perfect. So now we're good there. We're dealing with a little bit of a pinch here. And then the other issue is we need to kind of support this. So this is where it gets kind of weird because there's a little cut. It kind of gives it that wrench-like look. And we've got it, but the problem is when we smooth, you can see we're losing it. So we need to support it somehow. So Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to, again, create a cut here and a cut here. This is where we have to get a little creative up here. We're going to take these, which look like what is going on there? Is that an extra edge loop? Oh, no. Okay, I see what happened. My bad. So we're going to pull these and just kind of average them out a bit. Smooth it. We don't lose that detail, but we keep that sharpness. We should still have it pretty good. Yeah, still pretty good there. A little bit of a pinch going on right there. Not sure. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so let's try to fix that now because somehow we just damaged a bunch of stuff. It is kind of funny how often or how quickly you can really just kind of trash what you just did. Okay, that's good. That's back to normal. All right, cool. So we'll call that good right there. The wrench is looking pretty solid. We've got that good shaping going on there. We're looking pretty accurate too. So that's awesome. That's the goal here. Okay. So Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to add one right here, I think. Is that going to fix my little pinch there? No, not really. It also causes damage, so I'm not going to do that. Let's see. So why are we getting a pinch there? Is the question. I think it's because that's not supported. So I can do this. If I support that, it gets rid of the pinch. It creates a little bit of a lump up there, but that can be solved. We'll just pull it up a bit. Sure we didn't create any new pinching. We didn't. It's okay if that looks like it was cut because this is a machined part. So, okay, we're looking pretty solid. I'm actually really happy with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Mesh, Mirror, same thing, Object. Okay. We have a pretty solid looking piece, and I am pretty happy with that. I think... The only thing is, I think it might be a little too thick, so we're going to just slightly scale it in. Cool. And the thing about that what we just did, like, right, if you were trying to maintain this as like a perfect circle, you wouldn't want to do that. However, because we have a little bit of wiggle room, we don't have to worry about it so much. The only thing now is that if we're looking at the handle, it's not flat on the top. So we need to kind of correct that bit. So one of the easier ways to do that is we're just going to select these verts. Do the same thing across. We're just going to select all the way to the edge here. Make sure all I have is this stuff. And it's okay if you're seeing some kind of weirdness here. So what we're going to do is we'll just deselect anything that we selected extra we don't need. Let me just look at it in my side view, honestly. We're not working on any of that. I don't think. Okay, cool. So we're going to scale this a bit. Move it up. Just see what that gives us result-wise. And then I think I'm going to just scale it in a little bit. Okay. Cool. So that's going to do what we want it to, I think. Let me smooth it. We're getting a little bit more of a rounded top here. One thing is, though, don't leave it at that. We're going to select, I'm going to go back to vertex. We're going to select the center point. Actually, we're going to kind of keep morphing this portion of it. So we're going to just deselect a row and just kind of keep adjusting. You can do this before the mirror, but it's okay if you didn't. There's always a way to do it. And just make sure that's all we've got. Again, we'll go into here and just kind of adjust it a little bit. Pull it out. And then this one we'll scale in a little bit. That gives us that look, and it kind of gives us the pinch that we're looking for, because if you look at this the way it is they're kind of made on racks, and so they're cut off, or they're chopped off. So there's usually like a straight line across the top. This is giving us that straight line, so that's really awesome. That's what we want look-wise. It's a little extreme back here, so I think I'm gonna kind of just round it off a bit, especially because of the way handle kind of here. So what I'll do is I'll take these, which should be just the exteriors. I'm gonna just push it out a bit. And then I think I would pull these ones in. Just trying to maintain that shaping as best as possible. That's not as sharp. Okay, that's better. The lump is okay. That lump, though, I want to get rid of that. So let's correct that real quick, because I'm not in love with that. I don't like the way that looks. We'll just kind of drag these out. And this is now kind of a little off shape. So we can just kind of pull it back in and readjust a tad. And we'll kind of fix a little bit of that extreme that we did. Okay. But you can see overall how you're starting to develop the shape of the handle more. And then once we just kind of flow it back into place, smooth it out, we've got that nice rounded top as compared to this really unrounded bottom. So that's the next part we're going to work on, is the bottom. We're going to just same thing, we're just gonna work it until it looks like we want it. Go right up to where we stopped. Should be right about there somewhere, I think. Is that right, or did we stop right there? Yeah, that's right about there. Okay. So same thing here. We're gonna deselect these outer edges. We don't want them. Also need to not be working on, oh, actually, you know what? Just do the outer one. And we're just going to rebuild this shape a little bit and get out of this squared off handle. And like I said, this is the hardest part. So once you're done with the handle, the rest of it should be pretty easy. I'll show you a really nice trick for doing the actual adjuster knob. Okay. I'm going to pull this up. In a little bit, and then the same thing, we're going to just deselect this, and this should actually just kind of work Shouldn't have to do too much adjusting on this one after this one's done. Same thing, we're just gonna pull it up a bit. So if I smooth that, I've got that rounded edge, but I've still got this really sharp edge, so I do want to correct that. Because it's just a little too sharp. So this one, I'm just gonna select this inner edge here, and we're gonna pull it inwards. Just to kind of even that out. So same thing, just scale it in. Gives us a much rounder look. It still has that sharpness to it, but that's okay. It's a tool. It's kind of a hand press tool, so we're not really worried about it. Still getting a weird like warp there. I think what I want to do is just kind of clean this a bit. We'll just kind of come up here and adjust these a tad bit. That way there's a little bit more of an even flow to that. Okay, cool. We're okay with that. And then again, this is just looking kind of junky back here, so let's fix that. I'm gonna go to vertice, just adjust a little bit, kind of make it look as clean as you can. We are getting a pinch back here. I don't like that, so I'll just kind of play with it and move it in a little bit. Because honestly, back here, it's kind of the last thing we want is that pinch. Okay. You know, I know these tutorials are long, and I know it seems like this would be a simple object, and it is. It's actually, on the grand scheme of things, it's pretty simple. But the reality is like this is how you're going to learn better edge flow. It's just working on stuff like this. So just don't understand what's happening here. I think it's because this isn't pulling out enough. I'm just trying to even this out a little bit. Sometimes that means pulling it down more. That's okay. I think that's the reality I'm dealing with here, is I'm just not giving myself enough room. Okay. That should look a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. That flows better. Okay, so there we go. The only thing is down here, I want to kind of clean up this transition because this transition is just not working for me. So we are going to pull this in. I'm going to take this edge here, pull this up a bit, pull it in, just smooth that transition out a little bit. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so we have our wrench. We've got a little bit of a pull up here for some reason. I'm wondering why. There's something not connected up here. Oh, there's an extra edge loop, or a vertex. Mesh tools, we're going to delete that. Oh, what happened here? Okay. One. How strange. Okay. It's okay, we'll just recreate it real quick. That's better. There's a good chance to just look over your model, make sure you don't have tugging in any places there shouldn't be. Vertex. We have another one right here. Looks like something just either got deleted when we were working on this and we didn't catch it, or something else happened. I don't really know. Did I select the wrong pieces? I did. Okay. Much better. Just looking for any of those pulls. We don't want any of those. Or any hanging vertices. Doesn't look like we have any more, so I think we're okay. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and save our scene. All right, so we've got the body of the wrench done. We're pretty happy with that. I like the way that the indent is working on both sides. Everything seems to be working pretty well here. The imperfection of some of it, I'm actually really happy with because of the way that this thing is built and kind of designed. The only thing is I'm getting a little bit of a pinch up here. Let's correct that real quick. It's more of a visual thing than anything. I'm gonna turn on my edge slide. We should be able to just kind of slide that in. Do surface slide, and we should be able to pull it back in. That should kind of correct that. And it does. Okay, so we got no more pinch up there, so that pinch is kind of solid. Oh, wait, hold on. Still got a bit of a pinch. So this geo right here is just causing a little bit of an issue. So we're going to do surface slide and just scale it out a bit to kind of maintain that shaping that we've got going on. Should hopefully reduce that a bit. It does. Still kind of there. I also think it's because there's a lack of support up here. Let's see. And just scale it a little bit. Up. See if that kind of does kind of correct it. This is just one of those shapes that may be kind of hard to actually support. If I do another insert edge loop here, I might be able to correct it. All right, why are you not working? Okay, same issue here. We have n-gons. We need to delete them. All right, edit mesh, delete edge vertex. We're going to rebuild this real quick. That mesh tools. Okay. Gives a little bit more support there. Should help alleviate some of that. Still have a slight pinch up here, but I'm not super duper worried about it. Also trying to figure out where that pinch is coming from. Getting better. I think in general the pinch is just coming from the fact that there's just too much going on here. So let's just scale some of this out. I keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, you can see that made that pinch so much better. Okay, so we've kind of fixed that. I'm not super worried about that back one. So we're pretty good there. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Not worried about the interior because it's not going to be necessarily seen. Sweet. All right, so we'll go show, isolate view selected. So now we've got a good portion of our wrench and we're ready to move forward.